Welcome to AI Book Highlights.
Hey there!
Today we're jumping into the Silva Mind Control Method by Jose Silva, along with Philip Miel.
Yeah, this is a fascinating one, developed over, what, 2 decades of research?
That's right. And it's all about training your mind to access potential SACE. Silva believed most of us just don't use.
Exactly. So, our plan is to pull out some key concepts, give you a quick grasp of Silva's main ideas.
We'll focus on the practical side, techniques for things like memory, maybe health, habits.
Even intuition, which is pretty intriguing. Just a glimpse into what Silva thought was possible for, well, basically everyone.
Okay, so let's get into the first big idea. It's all about different levels of mind, right? Brain waves.
He talks about beta, which is like our normal awake state. Then alpha, more relaxed, meditative, and theta, even deeper, almost sleep.
And Silva's method is really focused on getting into that alpha level consciously, like on purpose.
Yeah, precisely. The book says that normally when we're in alpha or theta, we might just daydream or drift towards sleep.
Right, not very focused.
But with Silva's training, he claimed the possibilities for actual useful mental work, really. Kind of multiply at these levels.
Interesting. So how do you get to alpha? Is there a trick?
Well, he offers a simple technique. Says when you first wake up, maybe go back to bed for a moment, close your eyes,
Right.
and then look upward behind your eyelids at about a 20-degree angle. He claimed that specific eye position helps trigger alpha waves.
Just like that. Looking up slightly.
Apparently.
Okay.
It's one of those physical triggers he believed could influence your mental state, a way to consciously shift gears, you know?
Huh. Worth trying, I suppose. Okay, what's next? Visualization.
Oh, yeah, visualization is huge in this method, absolutely central.
He introduces something called the mental screen, doesn't he?
Imagine like a big movie screen, maybe 6 feet out in front of you. That's where you direct your focus, where you project images.
So it's not just random daydreaming, it's structured.
Exactly, a dedicated space for your mental work.
And there's an exercise.
The basic one, yeah. You take something simple, something you know well, like an orange or an apple,
Okay.
and you project it onto that screen in your mind. The goal is to make it more and more real, give it 3 dimensions, full color,
Really try to see it, feel it.
all the sensory details you can muster. It sounds simple, but it's about training that mental focus, building that visualization muscle, sort of.
And this ties into memory too, right?
Definitely. He suggests recalling pleasant past events on that same screen, but not just seeing it.
Engaging all the senses.
Exactly. What did it smell like, sound like, feel like? He argued that doing this in the alpha state makes memory recall way more powerful, more vivid than our usual beta level memory.
Wow. So much richer recall.
That's the idea. That multisensory engagement in a relaxed state really locks it in.
And you mentioned practical uses.
Yeah.
Finding things.
Yeah, get this. The book suggests you can use this for misplaced items. Go to alpha, picture the last time you had the thing.
On the screen.
On the screen. Then kind of mentally move forward, and you might just get a flash and an intuition about where it is now.
Okay, that's a bold claim, but interesting. Practical, like you said.
It shows the focus isn't just theory, it's about tools for everyday problems.
All right, highlight number 3, something called the 3 fingers technique.
Yes. This is presented as a kind of shortcut, a trigger for instant recall, and even for speed learning.
A trigger. How does that work?
You simply touch the thumb and first 2 fingers of either hand together. That physical action becomes an anchor.
An anchor for what?
For accessing that focused alpha state and the information you've stored visually. There's an example of a teacher.
Oh, yeah.
A 4th grade teacher helping kids with spelling and times tables. They learn the material, then put their 3 fingers together.
And saw the answers on their mental screens.
That's the story, yeah. Using the physical cue to recall the visual information.
And there was another example. A taxi driver.
Right. A college student driving a taxi. If he needed directions for a less common route, he'd use the 3 fingers technique to mentally relive or replay routes he'd taken before in that area.
So accessing spatial memory quickly, it sounds quite adaptable.
Not just for book learning, but for practical, on-the-spot recall.
So how does this fit into speed learning?
Well, the idea is you'd enter your alpha level, use the mental screen to, say, visualize notes or facts, and then use the 3 fingers technique as your instant access button later on.
Ah, okay. So you learn it in alpha, then use the trigger to recall it in beta.
Sort of, yeah. There's also another technique mentioned, reading stuff normally in beta.
Okay.
And then later, listening to a recording of the same material while you're relaxed in your alpha state. combining different inputs across different states.
Trying to maximize absorption from all angles. Makes sense.
It really underscores Silva's belief in leveraging these different mind states for better learning and memory.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Dream control. That sounds different.
It is a bit different from, say, Freudian dream analysis, which focuses on spontaneous dreams. Silva's approach is more proactive.
Proactive how?
It's about deliberately creating dreams, or maybe programming them, to help solve specific problems you have.
Programming dreams. Seriously.
Well, that's the term he uses, more or less. It's a multi-step process. First, you just need to get good at remembering any dream.
How do you do that?
Before sleep, you tell yourself firmly, I want to remember a dream, I will remember a dream, and you keep like a notepad and pen right by the bed.
And write down anything you recall immediately upon waking.
Exactly. Even fragments. The key is setting the intention and being ready to capture it, cultivating that awareness.
Okay, step 1, remember your dreams. Then what?
Step 2 is the programming part. Before sleep, you focus intensely on a specific problem you need help with. Really hold it in your mind.
With the intention of dreaming about it.
Yes, with the explicit intention of receiving guidance or maybe seeing a solution in your dream that night. You're directing your subconscious, essentially.
And step 3?
Step 3 is remembering that specific programmed dream and then interpreting it, looking for the insights, the clues, the potential answers to the problem you posed.
So the idea is your subconscious uses the dream to communicate back to you.
That's Silva's perspective, yeah. That these programmed dreams can be a channel for accessing deeper insights or hunches related to your problem.
Definitely requires some faith in the process, I guess.
Like much of the method, it relies on belief and consistent practice.
Okay, one more highlight. The power of words and imagination, especially related to health and habits.
Right. This is about how our thoughts, our words, our mental images can actually affect our physical body and our behaviors.
He uses that lemon example, doesn't he?
Yeah, classic example. Just vividly imagining slicing and tasting a sour lemon.
You start salivating.
Exactly. It shows how mere thoughts or words can trigger a real physical response.
So he talks about mental house cleaning. What's that?
It's basically being really mindful of the language you use, especially about yourself, avoiding negative self-talk, negative programming.
Because those words can have a real effect.
He believes so. He strongly advocated for positive affirmations. You know the famous one, often associated with Kui, but mentioned here too. Every day, in every way, I am getting better, better, and better.
And using that while in alpha or theta?
Yes, repeating it in those relaxed states was seen as particularly powerful. The book claims even people with minimal training saw positive results from affirmations like that.
Interesting. And what about habits? Like quitting smoking or losing weight? Willpower isn't the key.
Silva argued imagination is often easier and more effective than sheer willpower. Willpower can feel like a struggle, like deprivation.
Instead, you
use visualization. You focus intensely on the desired outcome, the benefits of achieving your goal. You imagine yourself already there, feeling healthy, energetic, free from the habit.
engaging the senses again?
Absolutely. Make it real. Feel the positive emotions, the pride, the freedom, the health, the life desire, expectancy. Those were key ingredients, he stressed. Visualize the positive, not the struggle.
So focus on the rewards, not the sacrifice.
That's a good way to put it. Make the desired future more compelling than the current habit.
Okay, that covers the main highlights. Let's boil this down to some actionable takeaways someone could try.
Sounds good. Takeaway number 1 could be just experimenting with that alpha state technique.
The one for waking up?
Yeah. When you wake up, lie back, close your eyes, look up gently behind the eyelids for a few moments. Just notice.
Yeah.
See if you feel any shift, any increased relaxation or clarity. No pressure. Just observe.
Okay, simple enough to try. Takeaway 2.
Practice that basic visualization, the mental screen thing.
Just projecting an object.
Dedicate just a few minutes. Create your screen, pick a simple object, and really work on making it vivid. Full color, 3D, texture. Just practice focusing your mental imagery.
Builds that foundational skill.
Yeah.
Got it. And the third takeaway.
Maybe try using a simple affirmation. Pick one positive statement related to a goal you have.
Like better focus. Or maybe sleeping better.
Sure, something like that. And just repeat it to yourself when you're relaxed. Maybe before sleep, or during that little alpha experiment in the morning.
Quietly, with focus.
Yeah. Repeat it gently, with belief, for a few minutes. It's about consistently feeding your mind positive suggestions.
Right. So experiment with alpha, practice basic visualization, and try a positive affirmation.
Those seem like accessible starting points based on the book.
Definitely. Well, we hope this tour through some of the core ideas of the Silva mind control method has sparked some curiosity about your own mind's potential.
Yeah, the techniques really offer a framework, a starting point for some practical mental training you could potentially integrate into daily life.
If any of this intrigued you and you want the full exercises, the deeper principles.
We definitely recommend checking out the book itself for the complete picture. Silva lays out a whole program.
Absolutely. And you'll find a link to purchase the book right there in the description below.
Thanks for tuning in and exploring these ideas with us.
Yeah, thank you for joining us on AI Book Highlights.